understanding more of our concepts, what the line's doing. When we get this look and what everybody's doing, we're just kind of honing in on that and sharpening up on those things.
That was Arizona Cardinals quarterback, NFL here, Kyler Murray, first pick in the draft. Some said, "Who should he be? He might be too short." I wondered about that myself. Guess what? I got to give Cliff Kingsbury credit here. As I remember when Dan Reeves wouldn't start John Elway right away and in the preseason, and eventually did by opening day, and then John Elway struggled and Steve DeBerg had to save his you-know-what. Anyway, but I remember that. That was John Elway's first start in the NFL. He was 1 for 8. Well, it won't officially go down as Kyler Murray's first start, but he did start the preseason opener. Why kid anyone that Kyler Murray isn't going to be the quarterback now and in the future for the Arizona Cardinals? It makes no sense. Just get him in there, absolutely. And he did pretty well last night in a 17-13 victory for the Arizona Cardinals against the Los Angeles Chargers that you may have missed. He went 6 of 7 for the Big Red. They still call him that, now they're not in St. Louis. Anyway, he did quite well. So let's give him credit right there, right off the bat, in what really amounts to the first day for preseason in the NFL. I know there was a Hall of Fame game and all that, but yesterday was the first day of the preseason. Now, today, by the way, some storylines to follow. The Steelers are going to be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and a couple of former Tennessee players to keep your eye on. Cam Sutton, a defensive back. I'm hearing he's at a nice camp. And Joe Hayden, who's probably the best Steelers defensive back. By the way, Cody Sensabaugh from Kingsport, no longer on the Steelers. The contract not re-signed. He's still a free agent. He's still out there. But regardless, flip side of this, you've got Sutton. His stock could rise, and with Hayden out for at least the game, at least that's what they say. They're not, injury reports in the NFL, but it seems as if he won't be reporting. But it's one of those Todd Gurley now injury reports. Here I was going off on college football, but yeah, the NFL is being more and more disingenuous with their injury reports as well. Regardless, Sutton, see how many snaps he gets and all. That game's going to be on NFL Network if you get NFL Network, that sort of thing. Josh Dobbs is going to start the game for the Steelers. We won't see Ben Roethlisberger. Interesting to find this out. I understand Devlin Hodges from Samford. And we had Jim Wexell on, who covers the Steelers for Steel City Insider, and he was the first one to really write about Devlin Hodges and say, hey, this guy's doing all right. And that doesn't surprise me one way or the other. I mean, I think we all really, I was surprised maybe that Hodges wasn't given a 7th-round pick in the NFL draft. I was surprised that he went and had to sign with a team, the Steelers, who it looked like were pretty, fairly certain who their 3 quarterbacks were going to be. Obviously, neither Dobbs, nor Mason Rudolph, nor Devlin Hodges is going to beat out Ben Roethlisberger, but who's going to be number 2? Well, Dobbs gets the start. Started off training camp from the reports that I read, podcasts that I listened to, podcasts, not podcasts, but podcasts. From what I understood, he actually, put it this way, there was a bit of a slow start, but then he came on at the end. But Hodges looked real well. So it's Dobbs that gets the start today for the Steelers against the Buccaneers. Heinz Field is where the game is at Friday night. And then it'll be Rudolph, and then we'll see if Hodges even gets in. SoCon product. I'm intrigued by that. Jim Wexell basically told us last month that, it's probably going to take like an injury for Hodges to get on the team or so. And I do remember once upon a time in a preseason, remember Taj Boyd at Clemson? He was a quarterback there before Deshaun Watson. He was pretty good, actually. It wasn't Deshaun Watson, but he was pretty good. And he actually was in Steelers camp. He was 4th stringer, and I remember one time asking, hey, is Taj Boyd going to get any action? And it was a pregame interview, play-by-play announcer Bill Hillgrove was doing with Mike Tomlin. He says, yeah, sure, you expect fourth quarter, sure. Of course, Boyd doesn't play. Boyd never gets on the field. Boyd gets cut. And they stuck with Landry Jones. Now, here's the deal. Assuming Dobbs is competent today, he'll probably get the nod as the quarterback over Hodges. Assuming he's competent, assuming that Dobbs, Roethlisberger, or Mason Rudolph don't get hurt, in which case then, yes, Hodges would likely make the team. Then you would have a circumstance where it's going to be difficult for Hodges, assuming that he's competent. But if Dobbs falls on his face, if Dobbs does what he did in his one, extended quarter of play, 4 drives, absolutely no points, 50% passes complete against the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders last year. And, hey, Steelers lose 24-21. In large part, they're not scoring when Josh Dobbs has 4 drives. Then maybe that does open up a spot for Hodges. Because when he first reported 2017, didn't really impress that much. Not in preseason. Media liked him, but, yeah, you don't get it on likability. Then Steelers drafted Mason Rudolph the next year. Well, now you got to figure that, why would they have drafted another quarterback if they like Josh Dobbs? You bring in a quarterback, just to throw it at to have 4 in there in case somebody gets hurt, that sort of thing and all this. But yeah, now that's like, well, wait a minute. If Dobbs absolutely falls on his face, maybe Hodges could make the team. Now, he might not get on the field tonight. I mean, Mike Tomlin did that with Taj Boyd. We'll just have to wait and see. But something to worry about here, something to look to there at Heinz Field and all that. By the way, I was talking about Kyler Murray was 6 of 7 in that 17-13 victory. One guy I want to give a personal shout out to. Okay, personal shout out to, because I've known this player since he was a baby. And we've had his father on as a guest. It's Elijah Zeise, who is trying to make the Los Angeles Chargers as a free agent. But Elijah Zeise, and like I said, I've known him because I've known Paul since I was 18, and I remember when Elijah was a baby, and I remember once Paul saying, like my one babysitting opportunity that I ever had and all this, he had to leave the room. Marky, I'm going to be over here, watch my son here. And I'm thinking, what do I do with a baby here? Hello, this is before Elijah can talk, okay? And we were in a bachelor pad. There were magazines, not those kind of magazines. There were magazines on the coffee table. Now I started remembering the babysitters that I had when I was a kid. And I hated the babysitters that just ignored me and studied. I loved the babysitters that played games with me. And I said, okay, here you go, Elijah. Pick up a Details magazine and just show him the pictures, which enthralls Elijah. Absolutely enthralls. He's like right there. Comes back a few minutes later, Paul Zeise and a guy named T.J. Jefferson, who wrote a book, That's What She Said. And that's quite a... Look this book up. That's What She Said on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or something. T.J. Jefferson. He would later become Ashton Kutcher's valet, basically. He would basically become his assistant. And Kutcher writes the foreword of this book. That's What She Said. Check it out, okay? T.J. Jefferson is the other guy there. So we've got the author and we've got the columnist here. And myself in the whole room. Quite the meeting of writers, wouldn't you say? Anyway, what we get is TJ looks and says, "Look at Elijah. He's actually paying attention to these photos right there. What are you doing? What are you doing, crazy Marky? Or what are you doing? And all this." And I said, "I'm trying to entertain the child here. He doesn't understand English yet. But let's take a look at these pictures and all that." You knew then he was going to be a college student. Well, we don't know if he's going to be a pro football player, but he's got a fighting chance because Elijah Zeise, yes, the baby that I showed the pictures to, was very enthralled. And I had a short conversation. I'm going to try to get him on show as he tries to make the Chargers. We'll see what happens. Anyway, point here is Elijah Zeise, 3 tackles with 1 assist for the Chargers. in a game in which the leading tackler had 5 hits. He was right there up at the top. Again, free agent, depth chart has him 4th string, long shot, but not a bad day in a 17-13 loss to the Cardinals. Trying to make it as a linebacker, special teams performer. We'll see. We'll see. So just somebody right there. Years ago on this station, Paul, when he was just starting out, his father, Paul, I used to have him interview Keith Schuler for me, and he'd report on it. Okay? So there you go. A little bit of history, 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, WEMB history, if you will. And so obviously, that was before Elijah was born, but it was about the time he was born. And yeah, so there you go. Just somebody that I'm rooting for, okay? There goes the objective journalist. Yeah, I'm rooting for him. Elijah Zeise, Los Angeles Chargers. And he had a decent stat line in that game, 17-13. Of course, everybody is going to talk about the Titans around here. Now, I say that, I know that I've often thought the Titans fan base around here, it's a little bit bigger than, a little smaller than advertised, let's put it that way. But the Titans go up to Philly, and they beat the Eagles. You know what surprised me about that game? You had 6 turnovers on downs in that game. Yeah, 6 turnovers on down, both teams. How often do you see a turnover on down? I mean, we go for it on 4th down and we don't get it. How often do you really see that in a ball game? I mean, usually when a team goes for it on 4th and 1, they're probably going to pick it up. 4th and 10, they're going to punt. Yeah, usually you see them go for it in that they might not make it kind of. I mean, there's always, stop on 4th and 1. That'll happen sometimes. But how often does it really, A, B, tell me here about, usually it's what? Sometime desperation and 4th and 8 and incomplete pass. Something like that. Right? They had 6 turnovers on downs in that ballgame. 27-10, Titans beat the Eagles. Now you know it's preseason. You know that they're trying to get everybody out there to try to look good, right? Of course, the thing is, the fans will ask, we ain't want Tannehill now. Because Tannehill was 12 of 16. Got those numbers mixed up. 12 of 16 for 130 yards. And he threw 2 touchdowns. And, yeah, Mariota had 1 series, and it was, Mariota didn't really impress that much, and all of that. It was Mariota's stats. He was 4 of 8, 24 yards, and he was replaced by Tannehill halfway through the first quarter. So here's your feet wet. Let everybody here in Philly see you here, Marcus, and we don't want you hurt. There's more upside potential, I said at the start of the hour, in Mariota, but there is not, there's not. You do wonder. If they struggle early on, Tannehill started for the Dolphins for how long, So, there you go. Also, I think it can be reasonably said that the Titans really, really, really want Ryan Succop to get off that physically unable to perform list. They want him to be physically able to perform. Because the guy they had in there, some guy named Harry, basically, actually misses an extra point and doesn't perform all that well. Now, I guess you can always get another kicker off the waiver wire. I suppose that's a possibility. But yeah, it's time for Ryan Succop to come back. And not a moment too soon. In a moment, I'm going to talk to Tony Page. He is a sports talk show host in his final month hosting sports talk at WFAN. But he also is an astute boxing reporter. And frankly, boxing, we're having looks at what is going to make it safer. As safe as you can make any sport in which you are punching the other person, admittedly. Tri-City Sports Now.
20 WEMB Sports Radio Irwin. Real